In this video, I'm going to show you how you can monetize your APIs in Next.js using x402. x402 is a payment standard that allows web services to charge for access to their content over HTTP. We're going to build out a very simple demo, the prompt superstore. And if I need to unlock this, I will have to pay 0.005. And everything that is powering this is just a few lines of code. Let me click on unlock. We're going to get a wallet prompt asking me to sign the transaction, so a signature request. And once I do this, I actually paid to access this, so I'm going to get an alert. So this is the prompt in our backend that we needed to pay to access. All right, so that is what we are going to build out in this video. Before we get started, you would need a MetaMask wallet, and the way to get one is to go to metamask.io and download your copy, so you can have a MetaMask wallet right here, and you need to set it up. The setup process is very straightforward. Just click and choose a password and you're done. Also, you need to add the base Epolia network. This is a testnet. It's a playground where we can play with fake currencies without having to deal with real currencies and lose money, right? So once you add the base Epolia, just follow this guide. It's a very straightforward one. You can have that. And you have MetaMask. The other thing you need to do is claim some free tokens. And the way to do that is to go to the testnet faucet. And the testnet faucet is also straightforward. Once you get here, I'm going to add these links as well. You can go ahead and copy your web address, then you paste it right here and you select the network you want to get funded on. So base Epolia, there's several testnets, but since we're dealing with base Epolia, if I select this and I send 10 USDC, it's going to credit me with 10 USDC. Remember, this is a testnet tokens. They're not actually real tokens, so it's fake. All right, so once you have that, we can actually get started with the tutorial. Good. So now let's create our Next.js project and get started with it. Just going to open my terminal, clear everything right here. Install function. This is going to set up a new Next.js project for me. Would you like to use TypeScript? Yes. I just pretty much tabbed through everything. The default is okay for what we're doing. Wait for it to install. The setup is now complete. Let us navigate into the project CD and open this in our IDE. I'm using Cursor. I'm going to open in Cursor, and boom, we now have it open in Cursor. I'm going to blow this out a bit and just make it a little bit bigger. Then I think I can close this. I don't need it. And we have our default project. Let's install the packages we need. We need to install 3 packages: the x402 Next, the x402 Fetch, and VM. Okay, I think we are good now. The dependencies are now installed. The next thing to do now is to actually start writing code. So let's get into it. So just going to clear this and start our server so I don't have to come back again. I don't think we need to install any other stuff, right? Localhost 3000, everything is good. I can go ahead and close this now and focus on writing code. Okay, so now that we have this, we need to create our API routes. We are going to monetize an API route. So I think the first process is to actually create the API route. So to do that in Next.js, you need to go to app, create a new folder, call it API. Inside API, create a new folder that's going to be like the name of the route. So I'm going to call this premium. And this is the API route that we're going to monetize, right? And inside this, we're going to create the routes.ts file. So this is the API route. Inside route.ts file is going to be the actual function for the API. Okay, so now that we have the route.ts file, let's go ahead and write our API code. Boom. If you want to see the code and so you can copy and paste, you can check out the written guide that comes along with this video. So you can use that instead and you don't have to write all of this out yourself. So this is the simple API route we have. We are basically just returning the premium prompt to the user. So whenever a request is made to /API/premium, we are going to send back this JSON with the prompt text, which is this, right? That's it. That's all we're doing. Nothing serious. We don't need to do the monetization on the API itself. So that's another beautiful thing about x402. None of the crazy part is happening in the API route itself. Okay, once we've done that, let's test it out. If I go to my browser and go to /API/premium, everything works out where I should get a JSON response. Boom, it works, right? We are getting a JSON response back, which means everything is kind of good. Next is to actually add the paywall, which is the monetization part. And the way we're going to do that is through the middleware. So middlewares in Next.js is a piece of code that runs before the server responds to your request. So to add the monetization part, which is like the paywall, let's add a middleware configuration. So I'm just going to create a new file at the root of the project and call this middleware.ts, right? And then we're going to paste our middleware code. And boom, we now have our middleware code done. We are importing the payment middleware function from x402 Next, and we are using that to create the payment middleware configuration. And inside that is accepting 3 parameters: the wallet that will receive all the payments, the configurations for the routes that we want to monetize, that we want to paywall, and then the facilitator object, right? So these are concepts in x402. The documentation, I'm going to leave it in the description of the video in case you want to learn more, right? But the way you get this is from your MetaMask wallet. You can, or wherever, just get a wallet that can actually receive the payment. Then I can just show you quickly. If you go to your browser and you open your MetaMask wallet, you can copy any of your addresses. So you just go here. All right, this is a wallet address that you can copy. I'm just going to copy this, and essentially that is what I pasted right here, right? Boom. And so that is how you can create a seller's wallet, which is the wallet that is going to receive the payment. Then the facilitator object is optional. You don't have to define this one, but it's essentially specifying the provider that is going to verify and settle the payment. Lastly, we're going to check out the configuration. This is going to tell Next.js which of the routes in the project that we want to run this function on, right? Even though we are defining what happens in each of the routes. So this one we're saying whenever API/premium is being accessed, this is the cost to access it. This is the network it's on and all that stuff. This is one actually deals with Next.js itself, saying every time there's a route that is going to /API, run this middleware on it, right? I can actually be very precise and put API/premium here, but just for the sakes, in case I have like several ones and I have different prices, I will tell it to run on all the API routes, and each of the routes I can specify what the cost will be. So once we do that, once we have the middleware config set up, I can show you what happens when we now try to access this. And I'm just going to pull up the console app, go to console and close this and try to access the code now. Boom, we see that we can access that. Now we get this error, which is the 402 payment required error. And that is why the x402 is special, because now we get a configuration saying we need to pay. Payment required to access this API route. And then inside the error, and alongside that error, we're going to get the type of payment, how much it's going to cost. I'm just going to show you, okay, this is the assets we are trying to pay, which is USDC. This is the contract address to USDC on base Sepolia. This is the amount required to access that. In crypto stuff, we don't deal with decimals. That's why you're saying 5,000. It's not 5,000. It's 0.005. It's a multiple, right? Then we're going to see the network we're dealing with, who is going to receive the amount, which is what you configure. Pay this to the resource we're trying to access, and a bunch of stuff. It's an interesting concept. The documentation is a good way to learn more about it. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and create our front-end UI so that we can call this API and see how to process the payment. So let's go back to our code, go back to app, and inside page.txt, I'm going to clear off the default code. I'm going to paste our custom code right there. Boom, I just pasted our custom UI code. Let's see what this renders actually. I'm going to close this, and this is what we are rendering. This is the front-end code, the prompt superstore. I've done a lot of the heavy lifting, and you can just paste this and you have the code. And right now, let's walk through what the code does before we actually click the button. So we're importing a bunch of stuff. First, we're importing the wrap fetch repayment from x402 fetch, one of the packages we installed. We're importing some wallet error pass from VM. VM is an Ethereum client library. It helps us undo wallets, blockchain stuff on the browser or in the backend as well. So the first thing that we are doing is when the unlock button is pressed, so you can see this button is going to run this undo premium prompt click. This is the function for that. The first thing we are doing is we are requesting the address of the user from the front end, right? We're going to get that address. We're going to make a Ethereum request. Next is we are using that address gotten to create a wallet client. You see, we're passing that address here. We're also giving that, okay, this is on base Epolia. This is going to be, you want this to be the same thing as what you define in the server, right? But it's blockchain agnostic, so it can figure out a way to make it work, but usually you just want this to work together, right? Next thing is we are creating a fetch with payment, which is using the function from x402 fetch. Essentially, we are wrapping up the native fetch alongside the wallet clients so we can use that to make the request. So get a new fetch that can handle payment and now make that request to API/premium. Also, we are defining some configuration for the request. Super important. This would not work if you don't define this. This is a get resp. This is a get method, and these are the headers. If you need to add like authentication and all that stuff, this is the way to do that. But it can also handle payment as well. And then we are getting the response from the server, and I'm showing it in an alert box, just less UI stuff to deal with, right? And that is all we're doing on the front end. So I'm going to save that and go back to our code. So let's try out what we just did. If I click on unlock, right, we're going to see this, and it's going to prompt me to pay, right? And this is all with our function. If I click on confirm, if everything works, we should see our prompt right here. And this will fail if you don't actually have some test tokens to pay with. If you don't have test tokens, I showed you how to get from the first set. It's very important that you get this on base Epolia. You can paste your address. So once you have test tokens, this should actually work. If I decline the payment, say I go to here and I cancel this, we're going to get an error. Right now it's buggy for some reason on my computer. It's flashing the alert box and it's just disappearing. I don't know why that's happening, but you kind of get the concept. All right, so that is x402, and this is our demo. Now we have monetized our API. If you want to actually check out if we are getting paid, the way to confirm that is you can open your wallet. This is the wallet we are using to make the payment. If I access the Basecamp, if I go to the Explorer and I paste in my wallet, right? I'm going to copy my wallet once again. And I go to the input, hit enter, and I go to token transfers. We should see that we just made some payments like a few minutes ago. So 2 minutes ago, you see, 2 minutes ago, we sent some. The reason why it's showing that from to, so this is from and to, so it's going from this guy to this guy, is because I'm using the same wallet that I'm using on the back end to make the payments. So it's more like it's leaving my address and it's going back into my wallet address. The way to confirm is C 0.05, 0.05, 0.05. And that is all you need to do to add monetization to your APIs in Next.js. You just built a very simple demo. You can take this in whatever direction you want to go. If you go to the documentation, you can find more examples. Coinbase using different type of strategies in the docs. I would encourage that you play around with it and get to use this in the actual project. Thanks so much for sticking around for this, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.